Uh, this episode has to start with a disclaimer. If I make fun of anyone in the world who might have said something stupid in their life as an English learner, an English student, I apologize. This is definitely not aimed at any particular person. Carl Kingman, Sunday morning, 16th of May, 2021.
Where are you at the moment?
I've travelled to 1066. This is the Battle of Hastings. I'm on Senlac Hill. And for me, this is a pinnacle moment in the English language. After this moment, then the French obviously started to mess with that and change the language into what it is today. So that brings us to the subject of today, which is common mistakes.
Can I show my viewers where I am?
You can, yeah. Please do.
So here's the thing. When you picture Brazil, what do you think of? Because I have a very nice view, very representative view of what Brazil is like, really like, right in front of me. And so what do you think of, viewers? When you think of Brazil, what comes into your head? Beaches, probably a lot of nature. Well, not exactly. Look at this.
Sugarloaf Mountain.
The Sugarloaf Mountain. I'll show you.
We're going on a trip.
Beautiful view I have.
Hey, that's not a bad view. I mean, that's a view of
A neighborhood.
Anywheresville.
Anywheresville, exactly. This is a true Brazilian neighborhood. Can't get more Brazilian than this. Yeah, right. So Carl mentioned that we're going to be talking about common English mistakes that our students often make. And well, both of us, we're both English teachers. So we've encountered quite a few funny, sometimes annoying, common mistakes that students make. We encounter these mistakes quite often, don't we, Carl? I think.
Well, as a patient teacher, I never find them annoying. I do often find them funny.
You saying I'm not patient? Are you?
No. I'm suggesting it. It's different.
Well, I guess when you have been a teacher for what? How long have you been a teacher? For ages.
I've been a teacher for almost 13 years now. 13 years in August, September. I mean, you know.
I've got only 2 more years more experience, I guess, like if you can call it more experience. But I've got.
Well, perhaps my patience will start to go down the.
I'm very patient with my students. But sometimes after 15 years listening to the same mistakes over and over again, I mean, you get annoyed internally, but you never expose your internal anger towards the same mistakes
over and over. Apple, you buffoon. Nobody ever said Apple.
Well, they do in the USA. No, they don't. Nobody says Apple. Oh, but my American teacher said that they say Apple. Well, they don't. Okay.
Well, let's just say that all Americans are wrong anyway. So 320 million bad examples of the English language, and off we go.
That's getting edited out.
Hence, no. The disclaimer was a real moment. Yeah. It wasn't just to make fun.
Yeah. Well, do you want to start then? What is the number one on your list?
Number one for me is using the word pretend, which is obviously fingir in Portuguese, which is obviously, it means like I'm lying. Actually, I'm just making up. I'm just faking a situation when I pretend.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not actually talking about my plans for the future, which would be intend. And actually in Portuguese, intend is pretender, which means then, that's a false cognate. That's, false cognates. It's a brain thing. The brain tricks you into making a mistake. But
Mhm.
you know, sometimes students, they get it straight away when you tell them, but sometimes they take a little bit of time. I don't know, but that's the main one for me, because like, you know, oh teacher, I pretend to go to the United States. And it's like, really?
Oh, okay,
I
yeah.
pretend that I'm a famous Formula One driver when I'm playing
Yeah.
PlayStation. Like,
I pretend that I'm
it's
patient
good.
listening to that.
I'm imagining my student sat in the middle of their living room on a reclining chair, like, boom, boom. We are now traveling towards Miami at 35.
Exactly.
But, you know, each to their own. If you want to spend your Sunday afternoon pretending that you're going to the United States, that's fine by me. I
Well,
mean,
that's all we can do at the moment. We can't actually travel anywhere, but
good point. Yeah. Are you pretending or do you intend? That's what I always ask them.
yeah, yeah, I get that all the time also. And like I said, I have to pretend that I am a patient teacher and I am listening with straight face. But yeah, I have that a lot also. It's a false cognate, and there's another one which is on my list since you brought up false cognates, which is the verb stay. And because the verb stay in English is a motion verb, isn't it? Like stay, like that's what you say to a dog, for example, like stay, don't move. And
Or a kid, if you
or a kid, yeah,
if
stay,
you don't have a way with kids. Stay!
stay,
There's a
don't move.
reason you're on a leash.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's right. But it's a false cognate because it sounds like the word in Portuguese estar, which is actually the verb to be. So if many times, you know, more often than not, they'll tell you, "Oh, I'm stay at school. I'm stay at school." That's a common mistake. I'm stay at school, what they actually mean is I am at school.
Yeah,
But
I do hear that a lot. I stay in my job.
do you get
Yeah,
that? Yeah, yeah,
I do get that. Yeah, I stay in my job, and it should be I am. Because if you're in the place at that moment in time, like you said, it's the verb to be.
yeah,
And you know, there's other angles to that with stay, as in like when people are in a romantic encounter, like are together romantically, but not necessarily dating yet, or you know,
yeah,
we would just say in English that we are, again, the verb to be, with that person. We wouldn't say that we are staying together. Staying together suggests that you were thinking about not being together, which is a hell of a lot different
yeah,
to
yeah,
what the people want to say.
yeah. Precisely. I agree with you. Yeah, people use that a lot. Also, yeah. And there's another one with stay. So you can see how stay is used incorrectly many times. There's another one when you get angry or you get, I don't know, fed up or upset. We say get upset. I got upset. I got fed up. I got angry. But they use the verb stay also. Stay. Oh, I
Uh-huh.
stayed. I stayed very angry. I stayed very annoyed. Um,
Yeah, definitely in the past, I stayed in a certain way. I guess that's a problem with Portuguese having this thing about using a lot of nouns for feelings when we would use adjectives in English, and then vice versa, they use adjectives when we would use nouns. So this is something that people can always kind of check out if they feel like they have a problem with that.
Yeah, and
Um,
it's interesting you mentioned the adjectives because we actually in Portuguese we can make nouns out of adjectives. And what I mean is like adjectives can become nouns. So if you say, "Oh, he's," we hear this a lot. "Oh, he is a beautiful," or "She is a beautiful," in the sense that she's a
yeah,
beautiful girl, but we say, "Oh, she's a beautiful," because that's what we do in Portuguese. Ela é uma linda. So we use the linda,
yeah,
which is beautiful, as a noun, which is quite interesting, actually. Yeah, Portuguese is
yeah.
a very versatile language. Yeah,
Yeah, it's very cool language. When you start to get into the semantics of it, it's beautiful, well constructed. I mean, it's almost like Portuguese was put together by a group of very intelligent and very kind of astute thinkers, whereas English was put together by a bunch of
commoners,
people who sat round on a Friday night and went, I'm drunk. Let's do something crazy. Let's make a new language. Let's call it English and wait to see if everyone in the world needs to learn how to speak it so we can laugh at them as they learn.
Yeah.
And here we are.
But I agree with you. Portuguese is a language that it's called one of the romantic languages, isn't it? One of the romantic languages.
Yeah.
And it is a very well-developed language and developed by, like you said, by intellectuals, by great writers. From the Portuguese, obviously from the Portuguese, what's the word? Conquering of Brazil. From the colonial
conquistadors,
times.
Conquerors.
The Portuguese had amazing writers, right? Amazing writers and poets. They are the ones who are responsible for the language we speak today. But just let me just say something here, which I think is worth saying. I find it incredible that your level of Portuguese. I am very surprised. I'm gobsmacked quite often when I listen to you speaking Portuguese, because it's not an easy language to learn. I mean, you could put it up there with the most difficult languages to learn in the world, because what we have on paper, what we have, the grammar rules we have, they're not usually followed in real life conversation. What else?
Next on the list, I've got the preposition back, because I hear a lot people trying to use other prepositions also, but mainly back, because especially when you're talking about like trips and holidays that students have taken, or business trips or something like this, I hear a lot like, oh, I backed last week. Yeah. So you can use back as a verb if you're talking about putting your car into reverse gear, like your car is damaged. Why? Yesterday, I backed into another car. I backed into a lamppost, whatever. Mm-hmm. It's a regular verb. It's okay, but it's really only used in that situation of the other verb would be to reverse into something. Yeah. So, but you can't use it for yourself like, oh, I went to Barcelona for a week's holiday and yesterday I backed. Yeah. Doesn't make sense.
In the sense
I came back. It needs a verb. Yeah. The preposition needs a verb. That was my next one.
I get that.
I hear that a lot.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I hear that a lot. Yeah. Yeah. I have a few more, but they are mispronunciations. Number one that I want to mention is the word apple, which comes in the same category as the verb have. More often than not, they will say apple or have. And I often tell them, look, that's an open A. So we have to say apple and have. But it's very hard for them to actually pronounce those words with an open A, which is interesting. I don't know why, but it's hard.
Yeah.
Do you go?
I have the feeling that that's more the accent from São Paulo that helps to make that complicated.
Yeah, possibly. Yes.
Because I feel that problem less here where I live in Pernambuco in the northeast.
Really? You feel that less in Pernambuco?
Yeah, I do feel that less here. But I do remember it from when I worked in São Paulo, so I have to agree.
So if we're talking about mispronunciations, and if we notice that the pronunciation of the Paulistas is different from the pronunciation of the people up north in Brazil, then let me ask you one more. Do they pronounce the number 2? Do they pronounce it as chu, like they do here?
Sometimes, but not often.
Okay.
And I think that's because if you think of Portuguese from São Paulo as in a soft T, like boa noite,
Yeah, yeah,
this kind of sound,
yeah.
and then think about up here in the north where Maranhão, for example, is the strongest, but it kind of filters down even to here where they have a strong T, like
Okay.
boa noite.
Okay.
Then when it comes to saying the word to, that's okay. And whereas obviously in São Paulo, the T for them is chew.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think, your pronunciation of your own language, your accent, the particular sound of your voice, which is also very personal, all of these factors come into play. And there's another thing that I think I always tell to my new students when they're going to go to an English class, have an English class, and that's simply to do a mouthwash with any type of hot alcoholic drink, whiskey, Zambuca, vodka, gin, whichever is your favorite. I mean, you don't even have to drink it afterwards. You can spit it out if you like, but this will relax the mouth muscles. And since your brain is controlling everything, your brain is controlling the motor part of what you do, which is moving muscles and blah, blah, blah. But it's also controlling your thoughts and your memories, which if you're a more basic in English student or intermediate or less advanced, then a lot of those words are going to come from the memory and not from the motor part of your brain. This is when you become advanced and fluent, right? You don't have to think to speak in English. So that's why you find it easier to pronounce new words,
That's a great tip, actually. That's a great tip.
Yeah, drink alcohol. Go to your classes drunk, people. It helps.
Kids. So that's one more lesson from Teacher Carl. Stay tuned.
They don't have to swallow it. They can spit it out. I mean, people give whiskey to babies to get them to go to sleep. So
yeah, but
probably.
I'm going to give you guys an example of what happened to me. I'm not a role model, but feel free to try this at home. For my GCSEs, I had French, and because I spoke Portuguese, French wasn't all that hard for me. But I was terrible in exams. I hated doing exams. So on the day of my exam, I drank half a bottle of vodka, and I got an excellent grade. So that goes to show that drinking alcohol actually helps you to speak foreign languages.
Okay. So there you go. My tip, actually, after making fun of it, is a really great one.
It is. It's proven by myself in my GCSE exams. So it works, kids. Go out and drink alcohol and speak any language you desire. What else have you got on your list?
I've got a great one, which happens all the time, which is using your, like the second person ownership of something. It's the second person adjective for when you have something as the third person. So I always remember a student of mine who I really liked in São Paulo, Caio. He became kind of a friend from Indaiatuba. Great guy, nice guy. He always used to say like, my sister is going to your house in London. And I was thinking, well, I don't have a house in London.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure why she would be going there because I've never met her. So that would be strange, even if I did. And I think that's the type of sentence where if the words are others, and that could be a really weird thing to say to someone. So, in that moment, then we have to remember his, her, and it's like, I don't know. My dog is going to sleep in your house. I'm like, it's definitely not. I hate dogs. They make a noise. They smell. Okay. So the dog's going to sleep in its house, which wouldn't be a house. It would be a kennel, right? So that was my next one.
Yeah, I get that all the time. Actually, yesterday I was teaching a class and I was telling them about this common mistake. So I was teaching them the possessive adjectives and telling them, look, we can't use your if you're referring to a third person. You have to use the appropriate adjective for these. So his, her, and its. And it's interesting. It's really hard for them to understand because in Portuguese you can do that. We have the words his and her in Portuguese, dele e dela, but we can also use the your, the translation would be seu or sua. We can use that for a third person. So it's really complicated for them. And I often get them to write a couple of texts, every now and then, a few essays and stuff. And like 90% of them have this mistake. So yeah, it's complicated. It's not difficult to understand how it works, but it's difficult to put in practice at the moment of speaking or producing language. So yeah.
Definitely.
All right. I've got one more on my list. And
Okay.
this one is something that even, my fiance is my student, and she makes all these classic mistakes because they're common for Brazilian Portuguese speakers. And there's one that she makes quite often, which is not is instead of is not or isn't. She usually says not is. Oh, not is true. Because in Portuguese, we say não é verdade. We don't always need a subject in our phrases in Portuguese because our verbs have different conjugations, and you can tell what subject we're referring to because of the verb on its own. And that doesn't work in English. You need the subject, right? So quite often students will phrase something and leave out the subject. So she usually says not is true instead of that isn't true or it isn't true or something like that. Do you get that?
Okay. I do get that. Yeah. I have to remind my students of this. Normally by the intermediate period, my students have gotten over that problem. Obviously that depends on how much the student studies, practices, and so on.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I do hear that one.
Yeah.
I've got one last one too, which is using the word shopping to talk about shopping center.
Oh,
now this can be resolved quite easily by the American English. So we can use the word mall in any English-speaking country in the world, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand. People will understand that. England, United Kingdom, obviously. People understand the word mall. We just don't use it. We use shopping center. So if you say, I'm going to the shopping, then people won't really exactly get that because they might not know that that comes from Portuguese. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. What you're saying is that there are mistakes, and the reason some mistakes, right? Some mistakes, I kind of overlook some mistakes when the mistake is something that doesn't affect the understanding of the listener. Like the listener will understand you anyway, whether you say this or that. I often let it go because my main purpose is to promote communication. But when the mistake, as you said, as you gave the example of I'm going to the shopping, a native speaker might not understand what you're talking about. Just the same as if they use your, like, oh, my dog is going to sleep in your house. Well, no, he's not. So those mistakes, they actually, they block communication and, or they confuse communication. So those are the mistakes I have the tendency to correct on the spot. But yeah, it's interesting. Some mistakes that Portuguese Brazilian speakers make actually won't get understood by a native speaker. Oh, I wanted to suggest something to our listeners and go ahead and actually ask you also, are there words in English that people often, like even native speakers, often pronounce incorrectly?
Okay. Well, I mean, there's lots of English mistakes that people from England, for example, make. Um, I've heard people using present perfect with a past verb instead of a past participle a lot, actually.
Yeah.
And that's a weird one for me. But obviously, I only started picking up on these mistakes once I started to become an English teacher. But I
Mhm.
can say, though, um, not so much maybe pronunciation, but definitely because of pronunciation, there's some mistakes that English people make a lot with spelling. And that's when the difference between them is very light. For example, using
Oh yeah.
there as in something that belongs to them.
Mhm.
Their. Lots
Mhm.
of times people will put They apostrophe re, which is obviously the contraction of they are. So I do see that a lot, and not just one way round, but the opposite way round too. They want to put they are in contraction, but instead they put there like it would be the possessive. So that's one thing that I can say that happens a lot. Yeah,
I've seen that happening a lot with your and you are in the contracted.
exactly for the
Yeah.
same reason. Yeah,
Mhm.
totally.
Yeah. Well, if any of our viewers, we know we have a few lovely English viewers. If you would like to leave it in the comments and tell us, are there words that are commonly mispronounced in the UK or in any other English-speaking country, and any other common mistakes like Carl just mentioned? I think our students could greatly benefit from your experiences. So, like, if you are a native English speaker and you know of any mistakes that we could tell our students to watch out for, then make sure to leave it down in the comments, please.
Help us to do our job, please,
Yes,
because it's really tough
yes.
sometimes.
15 years and I'm tired. I would like to give a shout out. Do you mind?
Shout out to who?
Yeah. To two very supportive people, Neil and Dave. I mean, they've been,
Neil and Dave.
yes, absolutely. They've been very supportive of our podcast, and I'm very grateful for the comments and for the interaction. That helps a lot. Every comment on YouTube, guys, is like gold. Every like is better than money. So make sure to leave your like and leave us a comment.
Yeah, Neil is my second cousin, and Dave is the dad. So
Cool. Yeah. Yeah.
that can be explained there by
Well,
that.
well, if they're enjoying it, I guess. You know, I heard once from a YouTuber who's very famous today. He's very popular, but when he started out, he said, "Well, I had one like, one comment on my videos, and I used to think, well, if one person liked it, so will 10, and if 10 people like it, so will 100, and if 100 people like it, soon will be a community of 1 million people, and they are." He's grown.
Was he American, this YouTuber?
No, he's actually Brazilian.
Yeah, that's me. I'm gonna bid you a fond farewell from Battle, from Senlac Hill in Battle. It's been nice to be here. Windy, lots of noise from the people killing each other behind me. But yeah, have a
Right.
nice.
Not much different from where I am. Not very windy, but you can still hear the people killing each other. So yeah. But yeah, thank you so much for today, and I'll catch you soon, guys. Bye bye. Thank you, Carl.
Have a nice time from wherever you're listening to, because this could be morning, afternoon, night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Nobody knows anymore.
Yeah.
Nobody has an idea. So whatever you're doing, wherever you are, whatever time of day, whichever galaxy.
Peace
Goodbye.
out. Bye
Yes.
bye.